It says recording at the top left.
Yeah, I see recording as well.
Are we ready?
I think so. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So hello, everybody. My name is Michelle Bateman, and I am the ATRA Academy Coordinator. I would like to introduce this Zoominar by Thea Kavanaugh and Kristen Riggins about the ATRA section leadership, who, what, why, and how. And I will now turn it over to Thea and Kristen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Zoominar. I'm Thea Kavanaugh, and I am currently serving on the ATRA Board of Directors as a member at large. A little bit about my background regarding the sections is I was a section leader for the schools for about 7 years, from 2009 to 2014. And then for the past 2 years, I am serving as the ATRA Board Liaison for the sections.
I'm Kristen Riggins. I am the ATRA Community Section leader, and I've been doing this position for about 2 years.
So thank you for listening to our Zoominar today. This presentation is tailored to students, new professionals, and seasoned professionals who are interested in ATRA section leadership positions or have recently been elected to an ATRA board of by the ATRA Board of Directors to an ATRA section leader position. And we hope today that you will be able to discuss 3 effective means for promoting ATRA, RT services, and the profession through marketing, public relations, and membership outreach, that you'll be able to identify a minimum of 5 ways that section leaders enhance professional competence through contributions to ATRA and the TR field, and then you'll be able to identify how to submit an application for section leadership positions. So a little bit about the history of ATRA sections is beginning back in 1992, ATRA formed 10 treatment networks, including addictions, aquatic therapy, developmental disabilities, general medicine, gerontology, mental health, oncology, physical medicine and rehabilitation, pediatrics, and school system. And then through the years, some additions were made. Community inclusion and veterans and military services were added based on ATRA member requests. And then in 2010, there was some merging of those treatment networks, such as addictions merged with mental health and general medicine merged with oncology. Additionally, developmental disabilities merged within community. And then finally in 2015, there were some changes made. ATRA changed the name of treatment networks into sections, and then made 8 sections based on settings where RTs were employed. And these sections were behavioral health, older adults, veterans and military, child and adolescent, school systems, physical rehab and medical, community, and management. Today, those sections remain and encompass everything within those settings. And you will see we have the same 8 sections that were made in 2015. And those sections are intentionally broad to allow ATRA to network within and to serve those similar individuals within those settings. It allows for each setting to focus on individual content in those settings, competencies, evidence-based practice, and public policy. And within each setting, it encompasses everything, such as behavioral health includes acute care, residential, community, long-term care, and outpatient. Within community, they focus on parks and recreation, inclusion, nonprofits, for-profit agencies, private practice, veteran military includes inpatient, outpatient, veterans affairs, behavioral health, community, and long-term care. So you see within each of those sections, they encompass a variety of settings. And it's important so it allows for, as a profession, we support one another. And all sections are equally important to the profession and to the leadership of ATRA. Each section has 1 to 2 leaders, and those section leaders provide ATRA representation and promote the interests in their respective practice setting.
To support ATRA, we have to know the mission, which is to empower recreation therapists. The way that ATRA empowers is through providing learning opportunities that advance the careers of CTRS, keeping members informed of best practices across work settings. It's unnecessary for us to recreate the wheel. So if we know what the best practices are, and ATRA provides us that information, then it's helpful for us. Mentoring and developing professionals and students, serving as the expert voice of recreation therapy in our settings and building relationships with members across the country to strengthen the practice, and believing in evidence-based practice, providing professional credentialing and accreditation. The vision of ATRA is that we envision a world where all people have access to recreation therapy. The guiding principles of ATRA: we believe recreation therapy is a process provided in diverse settings, hence the need for 8 different sections. Assessment, planning, implementation, evaluation, and documentation are the foundation for recreation therapy. And evidence-based practice, professional credentialing and accreditation, in building powerful relationships to strengthen recreation therapy, and in mentoring and developing professionals. Why professional benefits? What's in it for me? It will help broaden your knowledge, stay up to date on the latest professional innovations, research, policies, and trends. It forces you to stay up to date so that you can give that information to the people that are in your section. You're responsible for providing a lot of the content on the website, so the fact that you have more of that knowledge and you're putting yourself out there to find that information is helpful for everybody else who works in your practice setting. Build a better resume. Listing that you're in an ATRA leadership role is great on a resume. It looks good and impressive to your future employers and shows that you're dedicated to this profession. Enhance your network. We all know that networking is key, and as the movers and shakers of ATRA and leadership in our sections, it's important that we give opportunities to connect on a local and national level. Be a leader. You have the opportunity to develop your skills as a leader, and this is important not only for personal growth, but also for your professional growth. Because it's a national organization, there's leadership roles that we can do all the time, and a section is a great way that you can do it at home, while at work, and it doesn't have to be just at a national conference. Become a mentor. Giving back can be the greatest reward and benefit. Participating in the forums, on the website, on boards and conferences sponsored by ATRA is a great way to grow your own personal network. And stay inspired and stay motivated. We all can be burnt out by our professions and by our jobs that we do on a daily basis. But if we stay connected to each other and other rec therapists in the field, it'll keep us motivated to share those experiences that we've had with others and to help.
So when you consider entering into an ATRA leadership role, your job as a leader is to be accountable for getting others to move in the same direction. The minimum qualifications of ATRA leadership is that you're a member of ATRA and you must be in good standing. Leaders have the responsibility to maintain and improve their knowledge related to the profession and demonstrate current competent practice related to the section they represent. They must possess organization and follow-through skills, and they have the ability to represent ATRA interests using regular dialogue with the board liaison and section members. The length of term for section leaders is a minimum of 2 years. That term usually begins at the annual, and they apply for this position, and it is approved by the ATRA Board of Directors. This position is also reviewed in 2-year increments. So we review your continued commitments and vision for the continuation in a specific leadership role. For instance, I had said that I had been in that role for 7 years, and there are some section leaders who have been in the role for a longer time than the 2-year minimum. But that is reviewed every 2 years with your board liaison to really look at that continued commitment and vision, and then to discuss, what you want to do moving forward and how you best serve ATRA. And it might be moving into an additional leadership role or taking a break or mentoring the next leader for the following year so that we can continue to enhance ATRA leadership. So what's the process of becoming a section leader? Well, first get to know your section and participate with your section. This will help to get you to know what your section is involved in, the areas that need improvement and ways you can help. Ask your section leader about any vacancies that they foresee, about their work plan, as well as how you can help. Section leaders are always looking for members to help them with various areas within their work plan. So get involved and become an active member and help your section leaders. And then get your resume ready. Vacancies occur all the time. Sometimes section leaders do have to resign in between their 2-year term, and things do happen. So have that resume ready, and then apply at the provided link. That can be done right on the ATRA website, and make sure you have that updated resume to show your competencies within that section. Once you apply, you have to wait patiently. The ATRA Board of Directors does look and review at all applicants, and they make a decision as to who will represent each section based on the information supplied by the applicants and the vacancies. They also do take recommendations from the current section leaders. However, every section leader position is open to all of membership when that vacancy occurs, in order to make it fair and equitable. And then finally, go with it. If you are approved, you will receive an email congratulating you that you are a section leader. And then you'll have time to confer with your new section co-chair, as well as your board liaison, on how to proceed. One of those means is going to be to watch this Zoominar, as well as to really meet with that co-lead and look at your work plan and how you can support one another. So the ATRA Board of Direction statements. These are the statements that guide the section leaders in their work plans. And they are: 1, to move the profession forward related to practice settings by focusing on evidence-based practice, competencies, and public policy. 2, to provide networking opportunities to build professional relationships through communication, support, advocacy, mentoring, and leadership. And 3, provide ATRA representation and promote interests of practice setting. So how do section leaders do this? What are their areas of focus? Well, their main area of focus is to create and foster community. Now, keep in mind, community is any group with shared interests or work, and that's what the sections are. They're committed to building communities of practice in real and virtual environments, where ATRA members have a common interest in sharing, learning about, and advancing knowledge about a specialty or a practice area. Members will share their desires, their problems, their experiences, their insights, templates, tools, and best practices. And the sections are that relationship-oriented network that mentor and speak up in a collective voice for the association. So going back to that ATRA direction statements, that number 1 was to move the profession forward related to the practice settings by focusing on evidence-based practice, competencies, and public policy. So what does that mean? Well, within each, you have some different areas that you could focus on. Evidence-based practice, identifying topics of interest and information needs, working with evidence-based practice committee section liaisons. Evidence-based practice committee and public policy committee both have designated section liaisons to work directly with your section on those areas. And so that helps support you, so you don't have to focus on everything across the gamut. You have support and people who specialize in evidence-based practice or public policies to support you in your section. And so it's important to keep that in mind. You also want to synthesize and share those resources or references with your membership, and engage in section-specific research projects when it's needed or requested. Under competencies, areas of focus should include supporting consistency in practice, developing and sharing best practices, approaches, and guidelines and resources, encouraging discussions and networking among members, providing educational opportunities, providing marketing materials, and then creating a position statement. Under public policy, areas of focus can include working again with that public policy section liaison, notifying members when there are changes in federal laws and regulations, providing education on federal and state laws and regulations, and promoting and advocating RT in your setting. Number 2 for the board direction statement was to provide networking opportunities to build professional relationships. And this can be done through email, section conference calls, open mic nights, newsletters, articles, section web pages, regional, state, and national conferences, and through social media. Finally, the last board direction statement was to provide ATRA representation and promote interest of practice setting. And of course, that is done through all of the above discussed items. So what is it? What's the importance of ATRA sections for members? Well, it's really important for the benefits of networking, professional development, connection, and leadership. Keep in mind that you're promoting your ATRA section members to get to know others working in the same area all across the country. Your role is to provide that professional development for your members, to stay up to date on trends, issues, and resources. You want them to connect and feel they're part of ATRA. And this can be done by asking them to share what they're doing in their settings, in their facilities, and sharing with others. This connects them to the field and also helps build best practices within our field for the future. And finally, leadership. You want to encourage them. You know, if they're involved, encourage them to help write a newsletter article, engage in a presentation, or at least co-present with someone. Help them build their confidence to keep them engaged so that they can consider a future ATRA role in the future. So what are those duties of ATRA section leaders? First, it's to submit a work plan. This helps guide you through the year and keeps you on track. They're due on November 1st following the annual conference, and then the final report's due August 15th, right before the following year annual conference. You communicate with your ATRA board liaison regarding issues, questions, and support for your section. 3, you communicate with section members for support and questions through email, phone, social media, and on the website. I would say this is one of your main things that you do as a section leader. You will have members contacting you from all across the country, asking you for support and help regarding questions, and you will be responding to them via email or phone, whatever you would like. And now that we have section-specific web pages, you know, this is a perfect opportunity for you to post their questions on those web pages and answer them, so that you could actually then forward these questions to the web page and say, hey, you know what, I answered that question. Why don't you go check out the web page and you can see my response. And if you have any further questions, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. 4, you want to recruit members from diverse backgrounds and geographical areas to serve in completing various tasks or outcomes within your section. Again, you're not expected to do every single thing, but yet you want to encourage your members to help you engage and promote the section through social media, newsletter articles, and webinars. And then there's always other tasks as identified by ATRA throughout the year. So what are the responsibilities of ATRA section leaders? Well, leaders have the responsibility to maintain and improve their knowledge related to the profession and demonstrate competent practice to persons served in their practice setting. You should refrain from using your position or information received from membership for private gain or for the benefit of a third party. And that means you can't use your membership to promote a personal publication that you wrote or you're going to use for your business in the future. You have to refrain from that, and remember, you're a representative of ATRA. And as a representative of ATRA, whether you're in that time or not, because people know you're in that role. And so postings and comments on social media outlets, Facebooks, listservs are viewed as representing ATRA because of your leadership position. So always keep that in mind when you're posting on Facebook or listservs. ATRA will develop an annual work plan based on the current board direction statement and expected outcomes. Leaders will develop. Leaders will also report directly to ATRA section board liaisons, and leaders will participate in 4 quarterly conference calls and any additional calls as needed to support their responsibilities and tasks as the leaders. It's preferred that leaders attend the ATRA annual conference, and if you are unable to attend, you will notify the board liaison. And we do make arrangements and we try to support you in any way we can. Finally, upon resignation, leaders will submit an official letter of resignation to your ATRA board liaison. And if possible, you will also assist in identifying and recruiting the next leader to fill your vacancy. So the final what of section leaders is your expected outcomes. So what do you do? What are those expected outcomes? And these expected outcomes help guide your work plan, and they form your objectives of your work plan. And so the first one is to provide and solicit at least one educational session related to section for members through the ATRA Online Academy. Second is to submit at least one educational session related to the section for members at the annual conference. Third is to recruit a member or write and publish at least one newsletter article related to the section for the ATRA newsletter per year. Every section has a specific newsletter that they will be requested to publish an article for. And you are notified of that newsletter and the time of year for that newsletter at the beginning of the year. Develop and build content for information on ATRA website for the section webpage. Kristen will go over the section webpage with you a little bit later on, but this is a key area that we are looking for ATRA section leader involvement. Number 5, showcase the diversity of the field by partnering with the diversity committee and using alternative social media initiatives. This was done in the past through a We Are ATRA social media initiative where we featured members of ATRA and what they're doing out in the community as practitioner, but we're always looking for alternative social media initiatives, and so we always want you to keep this in mind as you're moving forward. 6 is to submit at least one nomination to the awards committee. This is usually due around February or March, and we ask you to look at all the award categories and just submit at least one nomination. And it could be specific to your membership or a chapter that's around you, whatever you can, but we want the support. You're representing ATRA, you know the members, and we want you to participate in the nomination process for the awards committee. 7, promote interest and ATRA representation in section through monthly social media and webpage posts. 8, provide members with quarterly updates on evidence-based practice, competency, and public policy. For 7 and 8, I recommend putting a note in your calendar and say, hey, every third Thursday of the month, I'm going to make sure I get on social media and respond to something or web pages. Or you could decide that you have a member in your section that's really good at social media. And so you're going to encourage them that every Monday of the week, they're going to get on and respond on behalf of ATRA. You might also have members who are really good at finding resources, and you have them engage in those web page posts. So again, this doesn't have to be you doing it specifically, but you find and support members to do that, and then you oversee them. And then the quarterly updates can be provided in newsletters. They can be provided in email blasts. However you feel that you want to do it. And again, you work with those public policy liaisons and those evidence-based practice liaisons to provide you with the information so that you could share it quarterly with your members. This is what a work plan, an annual work plan for our ATRA committees looks like. And so you see, this is an example of the veteran and military section. They include their names as chairs and then any committee members they have that might be helping them. The board direction statement is the same for all sections, and we discussed that already. And then the tasks, again, are the same for every section. The expected outcomes or objectives are those 8 items that we just went over. So you'll see, provide at least one educational session for members through ATRA Academy, teleconferences or webinars. And so then it'll ask the tasks for completion and measurement criteria. So you will see in that column, there's different task completion. Complete 1 webinar during that year. Maybe your goal for your section is complete 2 or 3. And then who's expected to complete that? It could be you, it could be your co-chair, it could be both of you, or it could be a committee member. Whatever you guys decide as your section, but who is going to be responsible for that objective. And then as you go through the year, then you provide that progress report. As you complete items, start filling those in. And so you'll see for maybe number 3, recruit a section member or write or publish at least 1 newsletter article. For their progress report, they said they provided a brief contribution to the e-newsletter, and it was submitted by who at what date. So that just provides the progress. So then at the end of the year, when you're providing that final report, you already have all the progress you made toward those objectives.
There are some common barriers for section leaders. The first one is knowing. It's difficult to be everything to everyone. So knowing your colleagues in your state, in the place of work, in what setting you work in, and where they are in their professional life cycle. So not only as section leaders do we need to provide information to entry-level professionals who have just maybe started in that section or in that treatment area, but additionally, students who may be interested in internships in that setting, or advanced professionals who've been in the field for a long time. We have to be able to make sure that we're offering all kinds of knowledge and education, information, resources for them to get from the website and from ATRA to help them in whatever part of the cycle that they're in. It's hard to sometimes motivate others. ATRA benefits everyone, but not everyone gives back to ATRA the way that they should. So a common barrier that at least I've experienced in the community is trying to get other people in my section to comment on the webpage, to help me with some of the information, to even give me any feedback to keep me motivated, but to also motivate them to be a bigger part of ATRA besides just coming to the national conference. And then providing is often difficult, of staying up to date on trends, finding useful information. For the community, which is the section that I lead, it's really difficult because it's very broad. So, I have to be thinking about individuals like myself who work in a Parks and Rec situation and setting, but also people who may have a private practice and bill Medicaid in Indiana, or someone who works, in a post-acute after they've already gotten out, they're in a community setting in a transitional thing. So the needs are all very different, and trying to stay up to date on all of those, even though that's not my everyday job, is a part of being an ATRA section leader.
And so there is an ATRA section leader board liaison who is a board member for ATRA that supports the sections. And the role of this ATRA section board liaison is to be a board member, and you're appointed by the board to provide that leadership and guidance towards accomplishing ATRA's mission and direction. Your role is to support the section leaders, but I do not provide section leadership. And then I report directly to the ATRA board of directors. Responsibilities of the board liaison is to maintain open and routine contact with the section leaders, and monitor progress towards work plans. I do this constantly. I'm always following up my section leaders. If they have a question, they contact me immediately through email or by phone. And if I don't know the answer, I will seek it out for them and then return with the answer for them. I always want to help maintain progress towards those work plans. I understand, and ATRA understands, that everyone has full-time jobs. This is a volunteer leadership position, and we appreciate everyone's work in supporting ATRA through their mission and by volunteering in these roles. But we also know that we have signed up for this, and we do need to work towards those work plans. And sometimes all we need is a little reminder. Hey, do you remember you have a newsletter article coming up next month, or the annual's coming up, let's start thinking about presentations. So the board liaison's role is to kind of, keep the section leaders accountable for what they signed up for, and then support them. Do you need help with that? How can I help you? If you've never put together a presentation, it's your first time, or wrote a newsletter article, let me help you do that, and let's work together to accomplish that task. The responsibility of the board liaison is also to update ATRA boards on the progress of the section leader and activities. Usually the board requires that mid-year and then at the end of the year. But then they do request sometimes some updates on the progress and activities, and so the board liaison will provide that to them at their monthly board meetings. And then finally, the responsibilities is to evaluate the section leaders. At mid-year and at final report, there's evaluation. There's a self-evaluation of the section leaders, as well as a board liaison evaluation of the section leaders, and then the section leaders evaluates the board liaison. So it is a full process, but we all want to be there for each other, and really it's just a way to say, how can we best support one another? And that's really what that evaluation is for. And then finally, the tasks. The board liaison is tasked with holding quarterly phone and video conference meetings with the section leaders, They want to recruit for vacant section leaders positions immediately, especially if that occurs mid-year. They want to help promote the involvement in continuing education opportunities. And that includes regional conferences, webinars, Zoominars, and the annual conference. And then finally, they want to hold an ATRA section leader meeting at the annual conference. And this is a way to bring all the section leaders together and the board liaison to really evaluate and talk about how the year went, what are the goals that we want to work on to move forward, and how can we best accomplish that together.
So working with your board liaison, here are some tips to consider. Put his or her contact information in your address book and contact them whenever you have questions at their home or at work. Contact them with any questions you may have. Share what you are doing in your section with them. Copy him or her on your communication and keep them posted on the information that you're giving the members. And it might be helpful to create a specific place for their communication, either in a hard copy folder or an electronic subfolder in your email system. I have an ATRA notebook, so I have sections for each thing, and I keep anything that Thea and I talk about in that notebook, and then I also have it in my email as well, like on my desktop, so that I have copies of any information that's gone back and forth so that I can give that information to the next section leader when I'm no longer in this role. So tips for section leaders, you definitely want to foster a community. Lead your section's endeavors. So you want to identify your members' needs, almost do an assessment of your section. And share and promote ATRA's mission and vision throughout your actions. And every conversation that you have and the stuff that you do, remember that you are representing ATRA. Be familiar with administration, education, and marketing resources in your setting. So it's helpful to create these materials, share resources, encourage dialogue, really be active on the website. So what you see on the PowerPoint is actually some screenshots of the web page. And the Facebook and the LinkedIn. So it kind of helps you see that all those you should definitely check out as a new section leader, someone who's interested in being a section leader, because those are 3 very vital resources that you're responsible for posting information to, and to kind of see the flow of how that stuff is laid out. So the example on the left is of forums. So those are ways that you can post questions, post topic areas, and have a back and forth conversation. As you can see, the one is a camp question. We have a camper whose parent gives them CBD oil. Well, so in Ohio, CBD oil is legal, but other things are not. So it opens a conversation so that other members of my section can talk about that. How are they handling those issues? What are their policies and procedures? How is administration dealing with those things in your organization, so that we can kind of talk about that, because that's definitely not my forte, but someone else probably knows a lot more about it than I do. And then below that is some pictures and what we've posted as like the My feed. So as new information gets posted, people can stay up to date on it. They can talk back and forth, ask each other questions. On the right-hand side are blogs. So you can subscribe to specific blogs and specific topic areas. Members can post their information. I've put some, PowerPoint presentations on different disabilities. All those are kind of useful information so that people don't have to ask me as a section leader. They can just go to the website because they know where to access the resources and find the information independently. Some other professionals may want to reach out to the section lead or to other people, whereas those younger millennials oftentimes like to find that information independently without having to talk to anybody. More tips. Number 4 would be to recruit, confirm, and nurture members. So be familiar with and use your section membership list on the web page. Before we had the web page, we didn't really know who our section members are. But now I get an email every time, and it tells me as new people add, so I can message that person directly, thank them for joining the section, and kind of make a personal connection with them, asking them what they're interested in, what are they looking for from me as the section lead, from ATRA in general, and I can try and route them to those resources as they need. Continuously add resources and encourage membership discussions and communication on the section webpage and through social media. Compile new individuals that you may meet or recently express interest and contact them. So after the annual conference, when we have our section session, it'll be great to meet everybody, make sure they're on the website, make sure they're, joining that and continuing conversations that are sparked from that presentation at the annual conference. So I can stay in contact with everybody besides just once a year when I see them in person. Encourage all individuals who may contact you with questions to become members of ATRA. Use all interactions to recruit, follow up with potential members for your section. So I meet a lot of students. I interview a lot of students for internships. And one of our questions is always, are you a member of ATRA? So I'm always trying to promote that and explain to them what the sections are, why ATRA is important to them, and how as students they can be a vital resource. It doesn't just have to be practicing professionals. Students can give us a lot of information and motivate us on our webpage and through, networking within the section. Encourage section members to participate by giving them roles to support the section and making progress towards our work plan objectives. So we recently had an opening within our section for another lead, and there were two people who were very interested, and so one was chosen and the other we asked her if she would be willing to do some of our social media stuff. She was really excited and just really wanted to help. So being able to know who those members of our section are that have information and have a passion for helping the profession, giving them a designated role so that they still feel connected without necessarily having to always be in a leadership position. 5, solicit articles for the ATRA newsletter. Each section must provide one article per year minimum. Suggested topic areas are reviewing of section business, activities, projects, book reviews, overview of an intervention or highlight a program. Encourage contributions from your members. Many people have been intimidated by writing an article, and so as a section leader, you have to help them overcome their reluctance. In the community, like I said, it's pretty broad, so I went through Recreation Therapy of Indiana to try and find someone who would be willing to talk about what it's like to work in a private practice setting, billing Medicaid waivers. And so once I gave her a brief outline of what kind of content I felt like the members would be interested in, she was able to write that article and we were able to submit that. And it was really nice to not have to shoulder that burden independently, but to be connected within our community section that I knew who to ask and where to go to try and find that information to help everybody. 6, providing and soliciting presentations. So facilitating the section session at the annual conference is important and is a great way to meet all of the people who are in your section, check up with everybody, make sure you're on target for the work plan that you've worked on and that you're writing. Working on identifying and obtaining presentations or Zoominars relevant to the specialty or practice area. It's good to know who your members are and know who already likes to present, and then know who kind of is interested but needs a little bit of support, because section leaders don't have to be the only people who do that if you can find other people in your section and just support them. So even being a co-presenter on presentations is helpful so that people don't feel like they have to do it by themselves. If you feel more confident in your presentation abilities, then as a leader, you can just assist them. And 7, communicate with members and be a conduit of information. So meeting them face-to-face at conferences, going out of your way to remember people's names, introduce yourself through conference calls. Zoom is great, so then you can see everyone's pretty face and you can put a face to the name, which is helpful. Emailing people, updating your section webpage, and then really utilizing social media as much as possible. 8, work with other section leaders or ATRA committees. Communicate and collaborate with other sections or ATRA committees such as the evidence-based practice, public policy, and diversity, and work on group projects. Stay up to date on ATRA issues and professional trends, so support of the president and the board initiatives and strategic plan. Participate in quarterly section leader meetings and read the ATRA newsletter. Each section has their own information sheet that you can see there on the PowerPoint, and so that's helpful because it gives lots of information about each setting area in each section, and you can use those materials to not only give and update with the people that are in your section, but to teach new people who aren't ATRA members yet so they know more about recreation therapy in your specific setting.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us today. If you're interested in being a section leader, we hope that this provided you with some insight. For those of you who are entering into the section leader role, welcome. We're excited to have you, and we hope this presentation will help guide you as you start to build your own community within your setting and among your members within your section. Thank you. And again, if you have any questions, you can contact your ATRA section board liaison at the following email address.
Okay. Laura, can you hear us?
Yes, hi. So if you guys are looking to purchase CEUs for this Zoominar, what you can do is go back to atra-online.com and go to our online store. There we do have individual CEU credits for purchase. You're going to find the credit that is linked to this Zoominar, and you will be able to purchase your credit, and you should also be able to download your post test. And if you have any trouble with any of that, feel free to shoot us an email. My email is Laura, Laura, at atra-online.com.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and that will wrap up this Zoominar session. Thank you, Thea and Kristen.
All right, Thea, you can go ahead and stop recording. Okay, so Thea, when that downloads to your computer, if you can send that to me via